This episode of History Saver is brought to you by Addressing Gettysburg. Addressing Gettysburg is a podcast that shares great experiences, quality programs, awesome guests, and is a welcoming community for all who love Gettysburg. So join in with host Matt Callery and find out why Addressing Gettysburg is one of the top-rated podcasts online today. You can find them on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, CastBox, Podbean, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, and on Instagram, Facebook, and of course, right here on YouTube. So check out Addressing Gettysburg today, where history is not boring. Thank you to Addressing Gettysburg for sponsoring this video.
You're listening to Addressing Gettysburg.
All right, so we are going to talk a little bit about what happens on September the 19th, 1863 here at the Battle of Chickamauga, and this spot I'm standing now, which is Vineyard Field. Let's get to it. So where we are right now on the battlefield of Chickamauga is Vineyard Field, and as you can see behind me, it's a pretty big field, and we'll talk a little bit more about this place in a minute, but what is the purpose of this? So Bragg's plan was to kind of push up to the Lafayette Road and turn and kind of envelop that Union line. Well, his plan never comes into play because he's confronted with Union troops. And this is where this field is really going to kick things off on September the 18th during the Battle of Chickamauga. So let's talk a little bit about what happens in this field and show this field off to you as we talk about it. So as you come here to Vineyard Field in Chickamauga, you will see all of these monuments all of a sudden come into play here before us. This is one of the bloodiest spots on the Chickamauga battlefield. The fighting occurs here. This is going to have troops moving here on September the 18th, and now we get into September the 19th. This field was much larger at the time than what you see now. It runs several hundred other yards east of here. Now you have the tree line here, but it also ran about 400 or 500 yards further south as well. You got this road here that is going across, and the field is going to run across this road as well. Now, on the morning of September the 19th, Wilder's men have fallen back to this line here. And the far side of the road, there's a line of monuments here through the trees. You can see them right behind us here. This is where some of Wilder's men are going to be. Now, starting at 8 a.m. on the 19th, battle begins. And it doesn't start where Bragg expects it to begin. He is not looking for it to start in this area. Rosecrans has already been alerted by the fighting of the 18th in the areas we just were, and he has ordered his corps commander, General Henry Thomas of the 14th Corps, to move with 2 divisions of the 14th Corps up the corridor, which is this road you see running right here. You can see a car driving there for kind of a reference. And he orders them to move a mile north of us to Kelly Field. And then on the morning of the 19th, reports come in to Thomas that there are Confederates east in the woods in this area in front of us. Now, Thomas begins an offensive in this position by sending 2 of his divisions into the woods in the east and asks for another division from General Crichton, commander of the 21st Corps. Palmer's Corps also becomes enveloped in this and involved in this movement. And these divisions begin battle in Jay's Field. Both Bragg and Rosecrans react by detaching divisions and sending them in to fight one at a time. So he's going to send one division in at a time. This is going to be kind of the implemented tactical decision from both commanders. They're kind of going to do the same type of maneuvers here. Now, Rosecrans has elements from both the 21st and later the 20th Corps, commanded by General Alexander MacDonald McCook, and he will take those divisions out of organizations and feed them to Thomas. And then Thomas will put those divisions into the line of battle. Bragg is not expecting this movement and pulls divisions out of the mass of troops and feeds them to his flank in order to stabilize this attack. And he still goes with a plan he had on the 18th. That is still the plan for the 19th here. He is to cross the Lafayette Road and then to turn south, but that plan is starting to spin out of control here in this area quicker than what he can expect. And if fighting continually progresses in these fields, and by 1 p.m., here fighting begins in Brockfield, which is just a mile away. And this was about 1:30 to 2 p.m. and before fighting actually reaches the culmination in this spot here. And you can see in front of me, this is the spot of Lieutenant Colonel Francis Stenwick and his men. He loses 130 men here on September the 19th at 4 p.m. And this is where his troops are going to be. A federal division comes from the west past Wilder and moves across the tree line that you see right out here across the road into this area. Rosecrans is following a general plan of moving divisions forward into the woods and a run into the Confederate lines straight in this direction. He thinks he's still going with this plan, but it's a problem that the bulk of Bragg's force has moved directly to our east. So they moved east in front of us, and as Rosecrans divisions move in, they look for a Confederate flank that doesn't exist. At 2 p.m. to 2:30, fighting becomes evident and pronounced in this area. It starts to elevate, and ultimately 4 Union divisions of 8 brigades, elements of 3 Confederate States divisions, and holy crud, all of the deer. There's 6. Or 7. So 3 divisions of Confederate divisions of Confederate troops and 7 brigades become involved in this fighting. Bragg's central column is commanded by Hood and the 1st Corps of the Army of Northern Virginia, with some Army of Tennessee troops when Hood's men step off at 3 p.m. So they're going to step off at 3 p.m. in this direction, and then they're going to split between them the field and the north. So they're going to kind of split the army in half. Fragment of battle is now breaking down Bragg's command system because of this. So it's starting to break down his plans little by little, and it's starting to spiral out of control. Now, Rosecrans has a slightly better grasp on the situation at hand, and he's steadily feeding troops in support of General Thomas. But command relationships begin to also break down for Rosecrans and the federal force here. The fighting here rages from around 2 p.m. to 5 or 5:30 in the evening. And all of these monuments are part of that fighting. Illinois and Georgia have 2 of the most distinctive monuments here. But these monuments in the South Field represent Sheridan, who comes in the field and ultimately drives the Confederates back across this road where you see this car going now. So the Confederates are driven back across this road, and at nightfall, the Federals have gone back across this road in that direction, and Confederates have went back into this wood line that you see here. Now, overall casualties are impossible to determine here because with any accuracy, they're significantly There's, of course, thousands of men who are going to fall casualty here, but it just is impossible to give you an exact number because the fighting is still raging. So the casualties from this spot are going to be significantly different. And that is what you're going to run into here at Vineyard Field. But this is going to really be one of these things on September the 19th. And from the actions of the 18th, that's really going to kick off the Battle of Chickamauga on the morning of September the 19th, right here at Vineyard Field. This is where your battle is going to start to envelop into this overall situation, along with fighting at other parts of the field that are occurring simultaneously. So pretty cool to be standing here, and as you can see, the deer, if you can see them in the distance, are kind of reenacting, I guess, Bragg and his forces. So yeah, they're doing a little reenactment of their own, and man, is there a lot of them. This is again the position of Lieutenant Francis Stanwick. He loses 130 men here. He's here from 4 p.m. on the 19th to 4 a.m. on the 20th. Now, troops are going to remain in this area during the course of the night and early into the next morning. Then you have, this is Lieutenant Colonel Raymond, Samuel B. Raymond. He's here from 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. He loses 149 men. And then you have Bradley's Brigade, Sheridan's Division, McCook's Corps. This is Colonel Luther P. Bradley and Colonel Nathan Halsworth. You have the 22nd Illinois, 27th, 42nd, 51st, and Battery C of the 1st Illinois right here in these positions. You can see the cannons are facing towards Bragg's Corps there. And then you've got the 2nd Minnesota Battery here. Their monument. So they're going to have guns in this position, and they're going to be up under the commands of 1st Lieutenant Albert Woodbury, 1st Lieutenant Richard Dawley, 2nd Lieutenant Henry Harder, 2nd Lieutenant Alexander Ken Keed. And one soldier here talks about the fighting, and he talks about the smell of the gunpowder. He talks about the bullets as they're whizzing by, and just the hailstorm that's occurring here at Chickamauga. You've got Colonel Jonathan R. Miles. He loses 91 men here in this position. And then you've got this marker. You can kind of see the direction here. They're facing forward while he's kind of flanking out this way a little bit. You got one right here kind of in reserve. This is the 4th Infantry, 3rd Brigade, up under Bradley, 3rd Division, up under Sheridan, 20th Army Corps, which is under McCook. This is the position of Colonel John W.S. Alexander. He's killed the day after this action where he fights here on September the 20th. He's killed on September the 20th. Captain Chester K. Knight, September 19th, 1 to 4 p.m., he loses 238 men. He occupied this position 200 yards in advance at 12:30. So he's one of the first guys here. And they're going to be standing right here. And they're going to lose 230 men in this spot. And you can see Illinois troops stretching across the road here, and the monuments and cannon there. So this stands for a while here in this position. All right, so this is some of the action of September the 19th that is going to be very vital and important here in Chickamauga. So we're going to continue on and hit up our next spot here on the battlefield. But pretty cool to be standing in this field, I've got to say, where everything is going to really start kicking off. join us on our next episode of History Saver as we continue our trek across the Chickamauga battlefield.